Hi boys and girls, today we're going to read Curious George Discovers the Ocean. George was a good little monkey and always very curious. Do you want to hear about the time George discovered the ocean? It's hard to believe, but the story starts in the sky. George had always dreamed of flying, so this was his lucky night. Sorry to pick you up so late, Professor Wiseman said, but the miniature weather satellite just crashed from space. It needs to be found right away, and I think you can help. George and the man with the yellow hat watched from the helicopter as their house got smaller and smaller below. They passed the city, the country, and the beach. Soon they were flying over the ocean. Guess who spotted the ship first? Yes, George, there's the Einstein Pizza research ship just ahead, said the man. Professor Einstein and Professor Pizza looked worried. They explained the situation to George. The satellite splashed down close by, but no one is sure exactly where it might be. It might have broken in the crash. That doesn't sound good, does it? What if the information and the photographs in the satellites that were gathered are lost? Should we help them look for it, said the man. George couldn't wait to begin. They were going to search the ocean for the floor for the satellite. They would need to take the Pizza and Einstein submarine. First, a helicopter, and now a submarine? Today was turning out to be a big adventure. There they are, searching the ocean floor. What do you think George saw through the sub's windows? There were so many things to look at, fish and plants. Okay, George, said the man, keep your eyes peeled out for that satellite. George tried to pay attention, but the submarine's sonar began to beep. Had they found the satellite already? That's not a satellite, George, Professor Wiseman said. Look, the sonar had found a giant sea turtle. It wasn't long before the sonar found the real satellite. We're getting close, said Professor Wiseman, but hold on, we have a problem. The satellite is in the coral reef. Oh no, there was only one way into the reef, through a tiny passage. The sub was much too big. George was so disappointed. The team returned to the research ship and made a new plan. If the sub was too big to get into the reef, they'd need something smaller. Do you have any ideas? George has one. He was small enough to fit through the opening. George could swim in with his scuba gear, explore the coral reef, and get that satellite. George's scuba suit fit just right. Your helmet contains a camera, a microphone, and headphones. This fish locator will flash when you're close to the satellite. Professor Wiseman explained. We'll be able to see you on our monitor and speak to you the whole time. Are you ready? George was ready and excited. The swim fins helped George swim fast. He swam over and around the coral reef until he spotted an opening. You found the opening, George, he could hear Professor Wiseman's voice loud and clear through the speakers in his helmet. You should swim right through. There's the opening. He's swimming through. Once inside, George couldn't believe his eyes. Can you believe how many animals live inside the coral reef? With so many new creatures swimming around him, George never expected to run into someone he recognized. There's that turtle again. Exploring the coral reef was so much fun that George almost forgot why he was there, until he was distracted by a beeping sound. What could it be? His locator. It was flashing. You're getting close to the satellite, George, Professor Wiseman said. George and his friend swam deeper. George looked and looked. The satellite was here somewhere. Suddenly, George noticed something strange. Shadows swirled around him on the ocean floor. Shark-shaped shadows. George was frightened. He wasn't sure if monkeys and sharks were friends. Don't worry, George. Those small reef sharks aren't hungry. The coral reef supplies them with all the food they need, Professor Wiseman explained. What a relief. George was so distracted by the sharks that it took him a moment to notice what was behind him. It was right there. He had found the satellite. Professor Wiseman flew her helicopter over the reef and lowered the rope down to the sea floor. George grabbed on, and he and the satellite rode up out of the water, up into the helicopter, and back to the research ship. George was happy that he found the satellite, but if it was broken, all that work and searching would be for nothing. When they got back to the ship, Einstein and Pizza checked the satellite. "It's in great shape," said Professor Pizza. "Not a scratch on it," shouted Professor Einstein. "The research was saved, thanks to George." "Ahoy, George," they called to him from the ship. They wanted to celebrate. But what do you think George was doing? It had been quite a day. George got to fly in a helicopter, and that was fun. But he decided swimming in the ocean was even better, because in their sky there was no sea turtles. The